Alright, hello everybody. We're back for the first time. This is Joe and Connor's Power Hour.
Yes, sir.
Episode 1. And for this episode of the Power Hour, we're going to be discussing a bit of James Gunn's new DC.
Yep.
And that is going to entail today our predictions on the new Batman movie, Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
So Joe, I guess start us off.
Right.
What do you want to see from Brave and the Bold?
I want just a solid Batman movie with the Bat family and just proper we've never had a proper Batman and Robin movie. So even if we don't get other members of the Bat family, give me a good Batman and Robin movie. That's all I really ask for. At the most. I mean, I have other things I'd want. We know information now. We know who's directing it, which is going to be interesting to talk about because it's so controversial because of his work with Flash. But I don't know. He showed he could do a good Batman fight scene, so I'm a little more confident than I was when I previously heard he was doing it. And I think with it being Damian, you gotta go a more supernatural, traditional take on the El Ghuls, because we've never done the El Ghuls with the actual comic book facts about them. Like Nolan tried to shy away from the whole Lazarus Pit thing. So if we see Ra's, if we see Talia, give us comic book accurate versions of them. Show us the League of Assassins. Because, that's where Damian comes from. So you can't do Damian without showing us that he was with the League.
Right.
So I think that's kind of one of the biggest things.
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, James Gunn's going to try to go for kind of very much a, expanded DC universe.
Yep.
Where you're going to have characters popping up all over the place. So I expect at least a few Bat family members. I'll let you start on this question, but what Bat family members do you want to see pop up in this movie?
Well, now that Titans is over, I want Nightwing for sure. You gotta have Dick Grayson as Nightwing, and I want him as Nightwing. I don't want there to be the whole two Robin things or whatever, because sometimes people do make weird choices, but if they go by most Bat families in the comics, at this point, you go by the Gotham Knights model of the original Gotham Knights, which was you had before when Bruce had passed on. You always had your Red Hood. You always had your Robin. So if you don't have Damian, you have Tim Drake. But we're getting Damian, so we might only need one Robin. So at this stage, maybe we don't even have Tim Drake, or maybe Tim Drake's Red Robin. He's moved on.
Right.
I don't know what his plans are for Tim Drake, but I'm happy with one Robin. I want one Batgirl. I preferably would want it to be Barbara Gordon because they haven't done live-action Barbara Gordon justice, so I think Barbara Gordon makes sense. Gotta have Jason, so you gotta have Red Hood. And I think if you're gonna have, it depends how many people you have, but I would love it to have, because he's only been done a couple times, I think, and if they are eventually gonna do Batman Beyond one day, it'd be cool to have, what's his name, Lucius's son. So have
Lucius's son, right?
Yeah. So have Batwing happen. I think having a Batwing on a Batman team because it's just an older Bruce. He's probably going to be maybe 35, 40 at least. So I think you could have an extended Bat family. You'd want as many members as you could, because at this point, I'm sure Gotham is a mess, and Bruce needs more help because Bruce has got the worst job in the world. Because every other Robin he's mentored, there's never been a blood relationship. It's always been, you're Robin. Okay, I feel bad for you. I'm taking you in as my orphan. This is literally his son that he has to prevent from killing. And that's going to make what makes this movie so fun. What I really want, my number one wish for this movie, is whoever plays Batman, I just need Damian to just go try and kill some random scumbags. And Batman just grabs Damian, smacks him across the face the old Batman cartoons. No, you little shit, you listen right here.
Have you seen Batman Bad Blood? It's one of those.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love that one as an animated one. Bad Blood is so good. That's a perfect example of what a Bat family movie should look like.
I think I want something kind of similar. Here's what I would think the principal cast should be.
Okay.
I think Dick Grayson should be there.
Yep.
But he should just kind of pop up and be like, "What the hell? You got a son?"
Yeah, I think that's good.
Maybe get some pointers, and then he can kind of go off and be like, "Well, back to Bloodhaven."
Yep.
Introduce him, or maybe he comes halfway through the movie or something and pops up for a bit. Set him up for his own TV show or movie, because the second most marketable character in the Bat family is going to be Nightwing.
I agree.
So Nightwing, Batgirl, and Batman are probably the ones with the most solo output.
I agree.
So the three, and I think Jason Todd has his own interesting story to tell, and I think he could get his own like TV show spinoff.
Yeah.
The three I want to see him focus on is Tim Drake's Robin, Damian Wayne as Robin, and Batman. Because there's the interesting dynamic in the comics where when Damian first comes to town, he basically beats the shit out of Tim Drake, and he's like, "Well, I'm Robin now."
The only thing that
they're like the brothers that kind of go at each other.
The only thing I worry about with having two Robins is, unfortunately, we're now living in a world where the general audience's opinions are valued more than some of the comic book opinions are.
Sure.
And I just worry that the general audiences aren't going to pick up comics and go, "Oh, well, why is there two Robins?" Like, so that's my only concern is like having two Robins is just.
I don't think it should be a matter of Tim Drake staying as Robin.
Yeah.
I think Damian kind of steals the role, and Batman turns on Tim a little bit and is like, "Well, it's my son." And then Tim and Batman have to have like a moment later in the movie where he's like, "I'm your son too, but you did me super dirty." Because that happens all the time in the comics where Batman, you know, he's the father of like 10 people, but he also just does everybody super fucking dirty.
Yeah.
They're like, "Fuck you, dude."
Yep.
So I would love to see like maybe Tim kind of forgives Batman at the end, but it's like, I got to do my own solo thing, kind of pop off like Nightwing was doing.
I could see that because that could lead into.
And then he becomes Red Robin.
That would make sense because he would probably head off. I'm imagining James Gunn, since we're gonna now we know it's Superman Legacy, that if people like Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific, who are now all cast, are gonna appear in the world, because I know some people might not like this approach if you're still in that Snyder realm, but James Gunn is going to do the opposite of what Zack Snyder did. He doesn't want Superman showing up and being the center of the universe. He wants Superman to be the main player in his own movie, and he was going to be a part of the universe, but he doesn't want you to get the idea that Superman was the only hero alive at that time that was active. So you're going to watch Superman Legacy, and you're going to have Superman is still the main focus of that movie, but here's a Justice League's already starting to form.
Right.
And I would not be surprised. I don't know how many years away we are from Brave and the Bold, but I would be shocked because of the way James Gunn does things. They're gonna film Superman Legacy, and I bet you the end credit scene of Brave and the Bold, or not Brave and the Bold, the end credit scene of Superman Legacy is gonna be, even if he's not cast yet, you're gonna have a conversation where David Cornsweet's Superman gets a phone call, and it's gonna say from Bruce Wayne, and we're gonna hear a voice.
Right.
Because I think they're gonna set that up early.
Oh, I'm sure they'll cast. I'm sure they're casting the Superman stuff first. But once that's all done, I think they're gonna go into.
Well, there's a couple things. Those are
gonna be the two biggest pillars of this new.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the crazy thing is because speaking of people that are cast, like they're casting, even though they're focused on Superman Legacy, they've made decisions across the board. Like we know, Creature Commandos is gonna come out roughly soon, and that's pretty much cast and ready to go as an animated project.
Right.
You got James Mangold, who just did Indy, is working on Swamp Thing. That's going to get casting underway at some point. He's given all his Guardians people, if they want to come over, new roles. And so they just brought over, what's-her-place who plays Mantis, who was just in Mission Impossible. She's been given a role. Like, oh, and you know what I just thought about? This is another thing that relates to this topic. So I forgot one other important Batman family member that they could do that would tie into what they're going to do with this potential rumor.
Sure.
Have you heard about the rumor that they want to do a Huntress movie, and the Huntress is going to be Korean? It's going to be like almost like more like a foreign film. Korean director, Korean everything. Be awesome. And so
because I was going to go on a bit with my Batman castings. I was going to say I also want to see Huntress because she's been slept on in the Bat family since like the 90s in terms of like. Just because, like, during the New 52, she was relegated to Earth 2, so she wasn't even really in the DC universe for a time.
And in live action, they've done her dirty because, like, so she was pretty good when they used her on Arrow, but they used her tied as, like, this more awful, evil, vigilante type, like kind of want her to make her sound like she's a bad guy, which is fine. And then when they had the Birds of Prey movie, she was there, but she didn't feel like a real... The actress did a good job, but it wasn't really feeling like the Huntress I know. I want a Huntress with the Question, in the Bat family. Like, that's the kind of Huntress I want to see.
I'd love to see, like, just the movie start out, and it takes place, like, 15 years earlier or whatever, and it's just, like, her at, like, 5 or 6, like, hiding while her family just gets slaughtered.
Yeah.
And have, like, this crazy R-rated, like... ninja movie, basically, starring the Huntress, or like a John Wick type movie.
Well, that's what I think.
So there's a crossbow.
So if you like foreign movies, you gotta watch this movie. I don't know where you can get it. It's probably on streaming somewhere. It's called The Villainous. And
I have it.
Oh, you have it. So
I haven't watched it yet.
That is
coming up.
That is literally the perfect example of Huntress. You should let me know when you watch it, because we should watch that one together, and then we should review it on the podcast and compare notes for like that thing, because that movie is the perfect example for how you should see a Huntress movie play out. And I think that idea is great. I don't know who they'll cast for the role, but I think Huntress will be really good. So I guess that comes to the thing. I guess if we can't talk about I think when we're talking about Brave and the Bold, if we're going to talk about this, and people don't normally do this, because they could get whoever, but I think we should discuss candidates for who we'd like to see play these iconic characters.
Oh, for
so
sure.
I think let's cast the Bat family, from our opinion, and then let's also cast, because I talked about having the League, but there's going to be another villain other than the League. So let's think about, we're doing a Batman movie where this isn't the Matt Reeves Batman verse. This is hardcore DC back to like anyone. So Clayface's game, Killer Croc's game, anybody in the Rogue Gallery is available at this stage. So should we start with the villains and then go to the Bat family? Do you want to?
Sure.
All right. So let's think. So we'll do the League first. I'm trying to think. If they do Roz, I don't know if I have an actor to name, but I want an Arabic actor. I want them I want them to go back to the roots of it being Arabic. Like,
well, I don't know if you read the comic run, but there's a comic run for Robin that came out a couple years ago now, and or about a year ago, and it went on for about a year. And it was just Robin, but that artist did more of like Damien's Arabic roots. Like you can tell he's more Arabic. He's not like fully Arabic looking, but
right.
You can definitely tell. Like a lot of the comic artists kind of made him just like a little white kid. But, But you got to keep in mind that's not 100% true. Like if you look at his mom's like clearly Arabic.
Oh yeah, I would not be surprised.
A lot of the comics. And
I would not be surprised. But that makes sense. I mean, because with Talia, that just makes sense. But I think Talia is an exception where you don't have to make Talia Arabic if she can still act Arabic. So if you get someone that can do an accent really well that is Arabic, I think you can, because Talia's always looked more, I don't want to say Asian, but she has kind of like a look to herself that is not full. She doesn't look like Roz, but she looks different. Right. So I think Talia's going to be the interesting one, because we've already kind of tried to do Talia in what's it called? In Dark Knight Rises, and we failed. They just had some white woman that was famous that had attractive features and was like, oh, that's Talia. Like,
I mean, they got a fucking Irish dude to play Ross.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson. I love Liam Neeson, don't get me wrong, but
that was something that bothered me too. That's the one thing that when it comes to Batman, I love The Dark Knight as a movie, but I just think Christopher Nolan should not have been playing in the Batman playground, because he did not know what the hell he was doing.
See, I'm fine with it just because it allows for more diverse Batman watching.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you look at the comics, there's so many different forms. Like with Bob Kane and Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson, or no, what's his name? Well, I'm an embarrassing Batman fan, but the third one, what they were kind of playing with in the 40s is a lot different than what, like, say, Grant Morrison or Scott Snyder was doing.
That makes sense. I mean, I just feel like that with him, you're doing a different thing where it's like you're doing with those movies. They tried to do the whole grounded thing, but like I feel like Matt Reeves did it a lot better in his one movie because he knows how to do the grounded, but he understands the source material.
Right.
I feel like Christopher Nolan, I don't know what comics he used, if he did take any inspiration, but it just didn't feel like there was things he did that were cool, and there was things that just didn't make sense to me. I think something like with Roz, the way that they handled it in The Dark Knight, because they were going for a grounded take, I guess Liam Neeson is really good and did a good job, so I think they did pretty good for what they were going for. Right. But I'm just ready for things to go back to
more comic.
Yeah, I want more comic accurate, because I know that's where I think that's the thing. Like,
well, that's what I like about like the Batman is the Batman's very comic accurate, but you can also, like with Brave and the Bold coming up, we're gonna potentially get two different comic accurate. We're gonna get the more year one Batman, and we're gonna get that more finely seasoned.
And this is
Batman.
and that's the other thing I was gonna talk about. That the only thing that I'm kind of really, and if it wasn't for the fight scene with Keaton, I would have probably been more on the fence about it. I'm really hoping that, I know that they already did the director and stuff, but this movie better have a top-notch fight choreographer, because it's cool that they had the whole idea of like, we had Machete direct Flash, and he gave us this really cool Keaton fight scene. But that's really the only cool thing he really was able to do. So, like, if he's directing this movie...
Well, the CGI was lacking. I thought the script was really smart for Flash, but it was kind of like Multiverse of Madness, where it wasn't what fans expected. I thought it was better than Multiverse of Madness, but fans didn't exactly get what they wanted. Like, it's even questionable if the Keaton we saw in this movie was like a variant made from like remnants of the multiverse or something, or if it's our Keaton from Batman and Batman Returns.
Right. Yeah, and I kind of take it as like, to me, it felt like, well, he was different. I think we're just seeing our Keaton just has broken down into a different level because of the thing that with Batman was that he always fought to save Gotham. And he says in the movie that, that was
Gotham
done.
Saved,
yeah,
right.
So I think that's kind of the big thing. So I think here, I just am hoping for...
It's they kind of did what Rian Johnson tried to do on The Last Jedi, but actually, like, succeeded, because they made him, like, a heroic.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with Keaton dying.
Yeah, that didn't bother me. I agree.
I mean, it's slightly ambiguous if it is the original Keaton, but if it is, like, I'm fine with the way he went out, because, just how they handled it. I thought it was pretty cool.
I think that was cool. I agree. I think that Machete definitely, like, I don't know whose idea it was with the CGI or any of the stuff they did, but I think he definitely is a good director. I think that he has good ideas, and I think that there are, like, he knows how to write a script. So I think the script writing for Brave and the Bold is going to be really good. I just am really, anytime we get a new Batman movie, and especially if we're going to get a Seasons Batman, which we had kind of a Seasons Batman with Affleck, but it was too much season because we're getting that Dark Knight Returns.
Overcooked, bro.
Yeah, so here, if we're going to get a Seasons Batman, so Pattinson, so far, in my humble opinion, Pattinson has shown the best Batman combat ability. Even at a younger Batman, I think you're seeing the most Batman combat from his perspective so far. Because I think Affleck, we only really got one really good fight scene where you could really depict his stuff. And that his fight scene is taken away questionability because they have a Batman that kills. And so that kind of takes out the idea of him being Batman.
Well, you also have to have a variety of fight scenes in Brave and the Bold. If they're going to do it right, Nightwing has to fight different. Batman's the tank of the Bat family. He goes up and you're down in one punch, and he's super agile. But he's a lot... I'm not saying he's slow, but he's a lot slower at this age than, say, Dick Grayson, who's jumping around. He's punching people 5 times, and he's beating the hell out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that he isn't beating the hell out of them, but it's a different style than Batman.
Yep.
And you got Jason, who's more into gunplay, Tim, who's more into gadgets.
Yep.
And I would love to see, like, each character kind of defined in combat, if that makes sense.
I think that's what I would... I think that's
different
what I want,
styles and different... they all have, like, different body types and different styles and stuff. So I don't want to see them all fighting, just kick. Like, one thing that was interesting about No Way Home is they all kind of had the same fighting style, but you could see to an extent John Watts, and I don't love John Watts as a director, but I thought he did a pretty good job of making sure each Spider-Man kind of fought like they fought in their original movies.
Yeah.
To an extent. But, I mean, that's very similar. What we should see here is, I would almost say, like, you're going to need multiple choreographers because you're going to have very different fight style between Batman and Nightwing.
That's what
Red
I'm saying.
Robin,
like, I'm hoping that, like,
Robin and Red Hood.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping because, like, with Flash, I don't know how many people. Like, I know they had stunt doubles. I know they had choreographers and whatever they had, but hopefully they get don't just get stunt choreographers. Get people that are known for being the best, because this is a Batman movie that cannot be like touched. Like, I'm even like, I know he's busy, but I'm even like, they did it for Marvel. So even if you want to get like Chad and his brother to come over, since they're so good with the versatility of John Wick, have them come over for a few days and shoot the choreography if you have to. Like, just do someone that really knows what they're doing. Or the guy who did a lot of the Marvel fight scenes has done those He's directed those Extraction movies with Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
That'd be someone that would be good to pull into.
Right.
I think just definitely get a good choreographer that can show not only is good at doing the choreography and making the fights look real and look good, but making sure everyone is different. I agree that a seasoned Batman is going to be slower, but he is going to be still. I think he will be like throwing gadgets and doing things to get himself out of trouble. But because he is slower, he might not be like Nightwing jumping from attacker to attacker. He might just be going for more lethal strikes and just trying to cause as much damage as possible to get out of that situation. But then I think one of the other things that's important is you talk about variety. So for me, this is a great topic because I can't just talk about, like, you talk gunplay. I can give a specific style for each person to fight in. So Batman knows. Now, this is the thing with Batman that I think that's important, is every iteration of Batman has done this differently. I hope James Gunn really did his homework with Batman, because I want to see a Batman where they finally put the claim to fame to work. I want to see a fight scene in this movie with just when Batman's first starting out in this movie. Maybe the Bat family's not there, but it's just him, and he's getting ambushed. And I want, like, you remember the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes?
Where it goes slow-mo.
So I want him just like blocking and like just anticipating. I think one of the best things that they did with Robert Pattinson's Batman was they made a detective story. Well, Batman can't just be a detective in the aspect of like a crime scene. He should carry that detectiveness into his combat. So thinking through in the scenario, like in Krav Maga, we talk about how we need to end the fight before it starts, or we need to just anticipate. We have 10 seconds to decide that this gun is going to go off and hit us in the head. We need to move, we need to anticipate and take the threat out. And you need that from Batman. You need to know, okay, this guy's got a knife. This guy's got a bat. I need to take him out and him out all at the same time.
Right.
And so I think, like in terms of different styles, I think Red Hood would definitely use Krav Maga, because Krav Maga can use a lot of guns. So I would definitely say like anything similar to John Wick, or even just unique in its own way. I think he would use guns and knives probably as his primary weapons. But I think each of them is also going to have... Each of them are going to be skilled as hand-to-hand combat as possible, because they were all trained by Batman. So their Robin skills will still always be there, but everybody fights with their weapons, right? So Batman's utility belt is his ultimate weapon, because he has all his different toolbox there.
Right.
Red Hood's toolbox is his guns. So he'll do creative things with his guns. If we have Batwoman or Batgirl, whichever one it is, they're probably going to fight with like a baton or something similar to that.
Sure.
If we get Huntress, she's going to use her bow.
Right.
Yep, so everyone's got a weapon that defines how their fighting style is. So someone like Nightwing, even though he's trained with a lot of good people, like since he's the closest to all Bruce's training, since he fights so favorably with those sticks, I would like almost like a more Filipino martial arts representation with him.
Right.
Of like, so he could have like more of an acrobatic style like you would expect, but also give him the ability that he knows he's fought with sticks for so long, so show us uniqueness of that stick fighting techniques.
I would love to see some shit with Dick Grayson, like those old like Hong Kong Jackie Chan inspired, where he's like hanging from shit and he's doing backflips and rolling around kicking people. And I think Tim, since he's like the weakest fighter technically, I think it would be cool if he integrated more gadgets. Like he's in a fight and he kind of rolls back while the other ones are fighting, and he has all sorts of crazy gadgets.
Well, the cool thing is, since he's using his bow staff, which is his primary weapon, out of all the Robins, they've used bow staffs, but Tim is probably the one that, kind of like Donatello,
Tim is the first one to have a bow staff in the comics. Retroactively, the other ones got bow staffs in their time as Robin.
Right.
But the first one, like, in the comics, and if we look at, like, specifically New Earth, which is the original Tim Drake.
Right.
You know, there's Earth 1, Earth 2, Prime Earth, which is the modern, and New Earth. But if you look at New Earth, which was like the 80s to the 2010s, up until New 52, he was the only one to use the bow staff. So that was his thing. And I think there's cool fighting styles to be had. I think Tim Drake's more of a defensive fighter.
Well, that's why I was thinking, like, go Donatello with it, where, like, his bow staff, if he's going to be smart and he's going to have gadgets, make his, like... So Robin they always have their gadgets, they have things in their belts and whatever they can use, but make the gadgets that Robin has, make the bow staff the weapon that he just defined by, so no matter what he's doing, it's all attached to his bow staff. So, like, in the Arkham games, Robin would have a bow staff, but it would be attached to a shield. Or it would have... I think that would be the thing to do, is to have... But then you could still have, like, his little Robin throwing things.
It's actually kind of funny when you think about it in a lot of ways. If you think of the Robin lineage, you got Dick Grayson, who's kind of the Leonardo.
Yep.
Raphael is Jason Todd.
Yep.
And then you got Donatello, who's like the gadgets with the bow staff, and that's really Tim Drake. I don't think Michelangelo and Damien really parallel. So that kind of is the end of my analogy, but but it is interesting to think about it that way.
I have thought about it that way. I think that they are kind of like the Turtles. The other thing I think that would be interesting to do with the characters that you don't see very often is, I think you should do... I know that they're going to use, like, the Bat Family stuff, but if they're going to do a movie, like, say that the League... Maybe the League's not the main threat, but when the League shows up, I think the Bat Family need to be using more ninja-based weapons.
Right.
So I want to see... Something I want to see that they've never really done in Batman movies, and I would love to see this. Show us more of what happens when... I want to see the Bat Family pressure tested. What happens if something happens, like, their guns are taken away, the Bat Belt's not there... What happens when the Bat Family is pressure tested?
Right.
Like, they're still in their suits, and they still know how to kick ass. But you're dealing an army of assassins with highly trained weapons. Do you break arms and take swords and nunchucks and sais from them? Or what do you do? I think pressure tested is the way to go, because I think that's something that we talk about in both karate and Krav Maga, where it's you put pressure on someone and see how they deal with it. And that's kind of the way I think they should do it. Because I think... The Bat Family, Bruce's main thing when he went to Roswell was ninjutsu was one of the first things he learned. So show a lot of that training from, like, weapons that Bruce won't kill, he can still use throughout the comics, effectively still hurting people in big ways. Like, I know in the Batman, there was a idea that never made it to the actual movie, but there was an idea to have Robert Pattinson's Batman's Bat Belt come with a set of nunchucks that were specifically made for him. So I'd love to see, what would Batman do with nunchucks? Would he go over there and just, like, break faces consistently?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that would be interesting to see. Especially if you're doing it with the League. But then you have the League, and then you have other villains to do. So if we're going to have the League, because the League's got to be there for the Damian stuff, we got to decide what's the League's role here. Are they here because they're upset that Batman still hasn't joined them? Like, are we going with a situation like that? Or, like, and the other thing we have to think about, like, because you can always do the angle of, like, you want a Batman villain that hasn't been done before, obviously. But the other thing you got to think about, too, is, like, what is James Gunn's angle with this Batman movie set it up? Because if he wants to set this up multiple ways, I've almost been thinking about, you talked about doing Bad Blood, but I think we should almost go with a Son of Batman as well.
Right.
And I
definitely think we should do Son of Batman. I think... That's why I suggested, like, Tim and Damien have to...
Yep.
They have... I think early in the movie, like at the end of the first act or the start of the second act, Tim and Damien have to lock... Like, I think the movie should start with Tim and Batman kind of in a routine, and then all of a sudden, who's this... They get separated, and it's like, who the hell is this kid? And then this kid just whips Tim's ass, basically, and then, like, kind of is like, I'm Robin now.
So what I think is...
And then Batman takes him under his wing and, like, neglects Tim. And meanwhile, if you read a lot of Batman comics, a lot of how the, like, crossovers go is it's like there's kind of a war going on and the Bat Family are caught in the middle. So what I would love to see is, like the Talons from Court of the Owls and the League are kind of at war trying to find Damien and, like, recruit him, basically.
That would be interesting to see the Talons.
And then meanwhile, the Bat Family's caught in the middle, and it's like, we can't fight all these dudes.
Yeah, I'm curious
while all this shit's going down. So Gotham's in essentially ruins and in anarchy, and then the Bat Family kind of have to clean up after them and see what happens.
See, I was thinking more like...
I'd love to see something like that.
I think the thing with the Talons, the only thing I'm worried about is I think in the Batman, they hint at... I think that Matt Reeves might have his own plans for, like, Talons in his universe. So I don't know if James Gunn will touch on them. He might.
Not right away, at least. Or maybe they're already established as, like... Batman dealt with the Talons. That's a thing.
Exactly. I think that's possible. I think if you're going to do a war against groups of individuals, I think you would have... So, yeah, you have the League because maybe Damien was with was still trying to learn from his grandfather, and everything was going good. But then things go bad because then either Roz is killed or severely injured, and his place is taken. So you're having a war, and say their main League fortress is basically taken down by another threat. And I personally, because it sets up bigger things, and I think DC should, if DC's doing things like in Superman Legacy where they're planning their universe, but planting the seeds to grow through full out, then I think you do what they couldn't do in the Snyder universe with Ben Affleck's Batman.
Right.
You bring in Deathstroke right away. You have Slade and his army of mercenaries go up against, so the war is between the mercenaries, and so the mercenaries and the League are fighting. Because Slade's introduced, and he wants Roz's territory. Right. And I think that's great.
So, the Robin comics I was telling you about, I don't know if you know this, but, and I think this would be interesting to touch on in maybe the second or third movie with Deathstroke.
Yeah.
But Deathstroke had his DNA combined with Talia's, and then they, like, made a second baby. So, essentially, like, Damian was born naturally, but the second kid was grown in, like, secret and trained by, like, the League as, like, a backup if Damian didn't work out.
I like that.
So
That's
it's
cool.
Deathstroke and Talia's son. So Robin's half-brother is Deathstroke and Talia's son.
That's interesting. I like that.
That would be kind of sick to explore at some point.
What I like about this
I don't think the first movie, because I don't want it to get bogged down, but I'd love to see something like that.
My biggest thing is that's why I think Deathstroke here is, instead of going for another just random Batman Rogue Gallery member, bring in somebody that has association with the League and is already a threat that's formidable, but also bring in somebody that could deal with the Bat family, but also imagine what happens if, like, now, because I'm sure James Gunn wants to do Teen Titans at some point. Imagine he's like, okay, well, I already have my Robin here. I got Damian, I got Tim. Well, I got Dick in here for a little bit. And now I got Deathstroke here. So I'm setting my pillars up perfectly, and I'm lining him up because people have failed and tried to do Deathstroke right in live action. You do him right here, and you don't kill him here. You keep him around because you want to build him up. But
I mean,
it's great
it's
to build
been rocky for Marvel outside of the Avengers.
Yeah.
But Marvel's tried to create the pillars where it's like the Avengers world, the street level world, and the galactic world. What I think DC should do, and what they do in the comics better, I think Marvel has some individual characters that, like, Batman's my favorite superhero, Spider-Man's my second.
Right.
But Spider-Man works as a solo character.
Yep.
I never cared for Marvel in the comics as much as DC. What DC does so well is all of these heroes come together in the Justice League, but they all divide into their own world. There's the Batman circle, there's the Green Lantern circle, the Superman circle. And there's some crossover, like Deathstroke fights basically everyone. But, Wonder Woman circles. So there's all these circles, and then when the Justice League comes together, shit's going down.
Which is why I had an idea. So I do think that you could use this Brave and the Bold. So, like, you could center the enemies. I think maybe, like, they've done this before in previous movies. I think Brave and the Bold should have multiple antagonists. And then what I think should happen is Deathstroke should appear like he's a big threat, but he should only be in here for a cameo. And the cameo should be he fucks up one of the members of the Bat family.
Right.
And then he walks away so that you set this urgency so that when...
That would be like a sick end credit scene.
Yes.
If probably...
I would say Tim. I think Tim gets fucked up.
Well, here's what I would say Dick, because then you can set him up as both Teen Titans' primary adversary and also Batman. But, I mean, at the same time, because I would like to see Teen Titans, or Titans and Young Justice as two different teams.
I think so, too.
Because Young Justice is like Tim and kind of like, that's like the third generation. Like, you got the Justice League, which is like, they're like, you really got four generations. You got the Justice Society, which are the OG heroes.
Right.
You got Justice League, which are like the big daddies of the modern superhero. And then you got Titans, which is their sidekicks, their original sidekicks, and then Young Justice, which is like the second generation of Teen Titans in a lot of ways.
Yep.
That's what I really liked about the 90s, because you also got characters like Kyle Rayner and stuff.
Yep.
I won't go off too much on that, but
Yeah, no, that's true.
90s DC was sweet.
That's going to be interesting, because we're going to have... that's interesting, because we got things like... We know there's Lantern plans going on there, and I like your idea, like... It's interesting when you think about Marvel, even though Stan Lee did create a world, Marvel is just kind of the same. Like, there's new characters in different locations, but it's all based on, like, okay, well, maybe this character's in space for a little bit, but then they always go back to Earth. Right. Where when they made the DC universe, okay, you got Batman in Gotham, and Gotham's different from how Metropolis is. Which is why I got so upset in the Snyder universe when they put Gotham and Metropolis so close together, because it's like, they're so different. Why would you have them even be remotely near each other?
Right, they're not, I mean... The comics, the geography is really confusing. Right, sometimes they're over the harbor. Right. Sometimes they're across the country,
But it needs to be far enough where Batman and Superman can fly towards each other if they need to.
But also, they need to be far enough away that it's like... And also, you're going to have to find a way... And maybe it's just like in the comics where you don't really explain it away. But how does Superman have his solo adventures without Batman? And how does Batman have, like, Gotham's under siege from the League? Why is Superman not there?
I
think you just don't explain it, like in the comics.
You could do that. You could do the not explaining. I would also think that they could go, if they did want to explain it, an explanation could be as simple as, well, if you look at what Superman's got going on, because this is an early Superman in the Daily Planet, he's struggling with his life and everything, and then just being Superman. I think it's simply, you have both heroes are just swamped in their own way. Because Batman, one of the things with Batman that's always very important is, even though he has all these family members and has all these friends, he's very stubborn. He might think, even in his older age, that he's got this all handled. He's like, I'm not going to call Superman. Superman's going to come over, take care of it, and he's going to glow. I don't want to deal with that. So I think Batman just is, the answer is he's too stubborn. They're both so stubborn they won't call each other, because they both... I think the thing that's different, one of the things that I think is very important this time around is, since this is a new DC universe, in the Snyder universe, even when they got to Justice League, you didn't know the pillars that existed between Superman and Batman to lead the Justice League. When they did the Marvel movies, when they set up Steve and Tony, you know why they're the pillars. You know why they are. Right. Tony builds the gadgets, and Cap is the leader. That's how it's supposed to be.
You know what a big mistake Marvel did that I don't think DC's going to do, if they do it right?
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's biggest mistake was doing those 6 movies, bringing the Avengers together, and then tying the universe together so much.
Yep.
Because now it's so hard for them to build families on their own. But like I'm saying, you have a Bat family, and that's a fully established little world. Yep. And it's a world in the world. Superman has his own family, world within a world. This, that, and the next character... Where Marvel was always super connected. I think in a way, these solo movies should have, like, people popping up, but it shouldn't be, like, so connected in a way.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be strictly... So, like, even though there might be little Easter eggs and little hints, I think if anyone pops up that's not normally connected to the Batman mythos, it's people that are in Gotham for some reason. So, like, it's like, maybe Lois Lane ends up in Gotham because there's a report she has to do about something that's just, it's reached Metropolis' attention. So I think that's, like, something that you could expect. Or maybe something like, we don't know where he usually resides, so maybe if we do have Huntress in this movie, maybe Question does show up and he's introduced and he's here to talk to Huntress about a mission or something, and then you see where her story takes off. Keep it related to the characters we have. So, like, I kind of like to see, and I don't know if James Gunn's going to explain it, I hope that when we see these characters, like, I don't know if they'll say it in Superman Legacy, but in one of these movies, I'd love it since they're saying that heroes exist. What if we don't have to build up to a Justice League? And what if we've already had a Justice League, but it's just that the movies haven't, the move to make that Justice League movie just hasn't happened yet because the threat hasn't been big enough. So they're all off. One of the things the Justice League show did really well, the animated show, was they would all be on different missions and all be in different areas. And, like, when something bad would happen, then they would come together when it was massive enough.
Well, the other thing, too, is You know what I loved most about Justice League Unlimited? I loved those episodes where it'd be like, Batman's on a mission. He needs help from the Justice League, but all the A-listers are gone. So he's with Stargirl, Rocket Red, Guy Gardner, and the Atom or something. You know, just like, here's 4 random characters with their unique powers and unique personalities. Let's see them. You know, let's not see... And I really wish, and I hope that this is what James Gunn's doing right now, I hope he just watches the DC animated universe and takes a lot of notes.
Well, so I think... So this is also where we're going to get into the casting stuff, because this goes into my casting idea. So James Gunn said, like, when he's doing Creature Commandos and stuff, that he wants characters in animation also appearing in live action in his universe. Sure. And the way that I think he's going to do it is, I think, like, right now they have the really successful DC animated movies. I would not be surprised as when the casting starts rolling out. Don't be surprised if some of the people that get cast in roles are, not everybody, but there's going to be certain people that are from something that is animated that connect. Either they're animated in this new universe, or they started as an animated voice actor, and now they're an actor. Because I could see, so like, if we're going to talk about, like Calvin, we're still trying to figure out, like, so yeah, we think for Roz, we want someone that's going to be probably Arabic. Talia, do you have any names for Talia that you would throw out? Anyone that you think that would do
I'm
good?
So bad at fan casting, so I'll let you do this.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at, like, casting actors, so
I want to
hear
yours.
Who
fits. I'm trying to think who I have for my problem with Talia.
Who do you got for the Bat Family? Let's hear that.
Okay,
who do you got for Batman?
We'll do Bat Family. We'll focus on villains after. All right, so Batman, I'm going Jensen Ackles, because everyone goes Jensen Ackles, and this goes into my whole theory, right? So he's already the best animated Batman since Conray's gone.
Well, he's currently the animated Batman.
Yeah, so it makes perfect sense.
With Kevin Conroy gone, but also Kevin Conroy would be too old to play a live-action Batman these days if he was with us still.
But Jensen is perfect because he has everything that you need. And he proved in The Boys that he was willing to, even though he didn't need to, he went and bulked up when he thought he needed to, even though he was just going to have a padded suit to play Soldier Boy.
Right.
So now, if you notice when he plays Soldier Boy, even though it's a live-action role, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but when things get really tense with his character, when he's not wearing like his little Soldier Boy mask or whatever, his voice is very like Batman, like deep, like he's going for that very like grindy.
Justice League Doom World, I believe, is the new one coming out.
Oh, so the newest one that just came is called the Batman.
The Doom that came to Gotham.
Yeah, I watched it the other day.
I reviewed that on the channel, on my channel too. But they're doing one, Justice League War World.
Yeah,
War World. That's what it is.
And is that the
Jensen Ackles plays Batman in that?
So he comes back into it. See, I remember my main thing I seen Jensen Ackles play Batman in was when he did he played the he played Batman in right before the Batman came out. I made it my main research project to watch Long Halloween Part 1 and Part 2.
Yep.
That came out, and he was Batman in that.
In the direct-to-DVD animated shows, he's been playing Batman for a couple years now, and he has the likeness, too. He's got the voice, he's got the likeness.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's... You know, there's some Batman actors where it's like... Some of the animated Batman actors have just been, like... Great voice actors, don't get me wrong, but it's like you don't look like Batman...
Yep.
At all. And some have. Like Kevin Conroy in the 90s, if he got ripped, make him Batman.
Yeah, they could have done it.
But you know what I'm saying? Like he's like the first animated Batman who really like looked, has the physicality, and like could actually do both.
And when you're casting for things, I think the reason why this makes so much sense is like and there are probably going to be other candidates that they look at, but I think if James Gunn is trying to really do this, if he wants an older Batman, with Superman, I'm totally fine with it being someone that's more unknown, someone that you wouldn't expect. But for Batman, I want someone known, because I want someone that is known enough where they're not an A-lister, but they're known to the point where like they're known for being so. You want someone that knows how to play Batman. Since this is gonna be an older Batman, I think you have someone that's Batman that has all the things you want Batman to be, and this would be, even with Keaton being good. Even with Pattinson and everyone that's been doing Batman, Christian Bale, this would be the closest you get to a definitive Batman, because he has everything that you want from Batman. There is nothing. If Jensen plays Batman in live action, there's no way this doesn't go good because you have everything. He can do the physicality, so the action's going to be great. And then also he's got the brains, he's got the voice. They don't have to worry about figuring out any modulator technology because he's got the voice already. It's perfect.
Right.
It just works. I think he's perfect for Batman.
I want my Batman not to have like a voice changer.
I agree.
I know they did that with, like, Christian Bale did his dramatic voice.
The gravel, yeah.
The gravel.
Yep.
Didn't they do a voice changer with Ben Affleck? Wasn't that his thing? He used like a voice changer?
Yep, they did.
I don't want that. Yeah. Because you look at like the cartoon and the awesome thing that Kevin Conroy did is he said he would do like, you know, just this happy-go-lucky guy when he was Bruce Wayne. He'd be like, "Hey, I'm Bruce Wayne." Mm-hmm. And then when he's Batman, he puts on a slightly different voice, and he's fucking Batman.
Yep.
Like the amazing thing about that performance too is that he plays two different characters. Yep. And Batman, in a lot of ways, is, you know, he's a guy in a suit is what you boil it down to. Yep. But it really is a Jekyll and Hyde type story.
Yep. It definitely is. That's why I think Mask of the Phantasm was one of the best.
Mask of the Phantasm might be my favorite Batman theatrical movie.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best.
There's some animated movies I really appreciate, and I really appreciate most of the live action Batman movies we got. Yeah. But in terms of like Batman being Batman, up until the Batman, that was a lot of Batmans.
Yeah.
But that was definitely my favorite. And as a kid, it blew my mind. I'd love to see the Phantasm in live action.
It'd be great. It would be great to see them do something like that, and maybe they'll eventually build towards it. I think with Batman, I think the biggest thing, with Batman is like we have great Batman stories, but this is the time to like do Batman stories, but take them back to, because people always look at Batman and they're like, Batman doesn't have powers, so he's a so he's more of a grounded character, but he deals with things that aren't grounded. And
Do you know how old Jensen Ackles is by any chance?
At least in his 40s, I think. I think he might be,
or like late 30s
or late 30s.
40s.
He's the perfect age for it. Like he could.
Because I was gonna say, if we think about this realistically, Damian's probably gonna be 15 canonically.
Yep.
So if him and Talia had the kid like year 1 or year 2, Batman would be at this, let's say, 17 years.
Yep.
And if he started being Batman when he was like 23, which is typically like when they kind of have him become Batman approximately.
Yep.
That would make sense. It would slot right into his age.
I think it makes perfect sense. And
he'd be like, shit.
And this goes into something I was talking about the other day on my other podcast, too.
Batman can't wear a fucking rubber. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's also true.
Dude needs to stop at a convenience store. He's a billionaire.
Yeah. Well, in his defense, Talia did drug him and...
Oh, Talia pumped a hole in the condom.
Yeah, she didn't even care. She's just drugging him and just like, you won't be my new daddy, and you won't do this. I'm gonna just go and drug you and rape you because I can.
You know, Batman can be a victim. So.
Yeah, he gets taken advantage of. I mean, you can't blame him, man. I mean, Talia. There's a reason he stayed with Talia for so long, despite their issues. Something about her just rubbed off on him very well.
And she's hot.
Yeah, and it just worked. It just worked for her. He's like, she's hot. And he's like, well, I don't know what to do. So I think that's perfect because James Gunn said that a lot of these actors for these projects are going to be the age when they film the project. That's going to be how the characters are. So like, we know David Cornsweet they're going to film in January because I know that the writer's strike is only affecting the...
Well, did you hear a SAG strike just started? So actors are...
Yeah, it's not going to be good. I'm hoping...
in theory, it'll start in January.
Yeah, in theory, for now, it's going to start in January. And I think they said that he's about to be, by January, I think he'll be 30. So our Superman will be 30. So...
That's a good age.
Yeah, and so if our Superman is 30, that means he's older than how Henry Cavill was in Man of Steel. But they're going to do a lot more with this Superman than they did with Henry Cavill's Superman. So I think this is actually perfect. And I think starting off a new universe... I think 30 is a good age because he's been Superman to understand where his powers are. He's new to the Daily Planet, doing his thing. I think that's perfect. And so I think, realistically, now, depending on when Jensen Ackles' birthday is, I'd have to look up his exact age. But I'm going to guess that he is probably... He's definitely at least I want to say. You look it up.
Wait. Yeah. Siri, how old is Jensen Ackles?
Yeah, that's a good question.
45. I can't. He looks fucking great for 45. But that's not a terrible age.
That's perfect too.
Because you got 10 years out of him, and then whoever's playing Dick, you can have Dick become Batman.
And that's the thing, yeah.
Or if you get him for 10 years, you know, it hasn't happened in the comics yet. It probably will eventually. There's like Elseworld stories, but you can make Damian the new Batman and have like, how does Damian adapt to being Batman in 10 years? You know,
that would be interesting.
Maybe have Batman get killed by Doom's or Darkseid or something, and like one final like Infinity War level movie.
That'd be
like
pretty good. Yeah,
7 to 10 years.
Yeah,
and then you have like Damian or Dick take over. As
I
Batman.
think personally, between and just from personal opinions and what I think I would like to see from like the legacy of how each characters are, I think definitely. I think we could see Damian one day, but I would want to see Dick in the cowl first. I think we need to see Dick. You can have Batman die whatever way you want, but for me, and this goes into, I don't know if it would be this movie or if it would be another movie, because we got to talk about who we think, like, as we go through the list of the Bat family. It depends on what villain you have, but I still am really crossing my fingers that in one of these new Batman movies, we get a proper Bane. I want the real Bane. I want to see
this huge, bulky.
Yeah, just I want to see it. I know people have already like talked about like, oh yeah, Batista wants to do it, but nobody wants to let him. Like, let him do it. It would be awesome. And Batista, everyone looks at Batista and after Guardians, they're like, oh, he's a comedy actor. The dude can play serious. I mean, if you look at what he did with, I think it was it Skyfall or was it?
That was Spectre.
It was Spectre. He was huge. And he was throwing him around like nothing. It's perfect for Bane. It makes perfect sense. And they could totally do it. And I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, and you could, the way, I think the thing that they want to do is, yes, they've already done the Dark Knight Returns and Rises, and they did the whole Batman and Bane thing. But they didn't do Batman and Bane correctly because they didn't do a Bane that really puts the hurt on Batman. I want Nightfall adapted. Bring in Azrael in there. Have Dick Grayson kick the living shit out of him, put the cowl on.
The one unfortunate thing is, or I guess you could really take liberties on the comic continuity. Think of this.
Mm-hmm.
Batman 2, Brave and the Bold 2. Batman gets his spine broken by Bane, and then you got a movie where Batman's kind of in the chair, being like, trying to like instruct them. Yeah. Or maybe he's like, maybe he gets a concussion and he can't remember.
Yeah.
Pull some shit out of your ass. Yeah. But Dick has to be Batman, and Damian is like, I deserve being Batman.
Yep.
And Dick's like, dude, you're 10. I don't want to be Batman, but I gotta be Batman for a while.
Yep.
That's what happened when in Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin run.
Yep.
And that was fucking awesome.
I think they could totally do that.
I would love that.
Yeah, I think that
I would love
awesome.
a Dick and Damian Batman movie, because that's kind of what Bad Blood did, where they. I think they gave Batman amnesia or something, and then Dick took over.
Well, that's the other thing that we haven't even considered yet is, like, they've done the whole Batman disappearing or Batman, like, being gone before, but, like, we talk about, like, villains and things, like, but what if so they did the League, right? But what if even movie 1, what if they, like, actually, like, maybe not taken out of commission completely, because maybe you don't want to break him yet, but what if there is this thing where they start establishing this Bat family, and Bruce starts getting brainwashed by someone, and we have to actually have a Bat family take him out because he's a problem.
Ooh, that'd be sick.
Like, that'd be pretty crazy just to see.
Think, okay, so here's my prediction.
Yeah.
This is my Who Dies in Brave and the Bold prediction.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alfred.
Alfred will die, yeah.
Alfred gets killed because in recent Batman comics, Alfred is dead.
Yep.
And it's actually a good dynamic because maybe Damian doesn't really pick up to the Bat family so well.
Yeah.
The rest of the family, like Bruce and stuff, it's not going so well. But Alfred is just this caring mentor, and he's kind of the grandfather to these, like, 10 kids that Batman's ended up adopting who join his crime-fighting family.
Yeah.
And maybe Damian really takes a liking to Alfred, and Alfred's kind of like, yo, I know Bruce told you not to kill people. You're not going to listen, but it ain't cool. And then maybe, like, the League kills Alfred, and he's about to like kill Roz or something, but spares his life.
Yep.
Because of Alfred.
Yep.
I think that'd be cool.
That'd be cool. I think they could.
Because I think it would be a cool dynamic. Plus, I think if you did something like that, that kind of is like, in a lot of ways, like you look at like the Spider-Man trilogy by the MCU, which I think has gone fairly well. Far From Home was kind of meh.
Yeah.
But Homecoming and No Way Home are great.
Yeah.
And you kind of have that shadow of Tony Stark. So what if you had the shadow of Alfred over?
That could happen.
And Alfred doesn't have to be super well established because every motherfucker in the world knows who Alfred is.
Right,
you know?
right.
We know he's this caring butler who is on Batman's mission because he really cares about everybody in the Bat family, but he also knows each of these people have a vendetta against crime, and this is what they got to do. So Alfred's kind of that soft emotional core, and I think it'd be interesting to, for the first time in movies, rip that core away and see what happens.
It'd be nice to see. I think definitely taking him off the table is a good idea, but I hope that when they do it, especially if it is to like something like the League, make sure that when you bring him down, you make him go down like, because Alfred had like extensive like military training. You make him go down fighting, man. You let Alfred have a badass death because you want to make sure that it's cemented in the way that he is so cool. Because he is this butler, but like, you know, the reason he took care of Bruce so well is that he was so trained so well. They didn't just have him as a butler. He was meant to take care of Bruce from like anything at that stage. So I want to see that. I want to see those years of service like put to work.
I agree.
When the life is on the line, but I do like that
because like Alfred is a stone cold badass. Even the one like he'll hop in a fucking mech suit and start beating guys down. Like he's not going down without a fight. Dude's gonna pull out some crazy shit.
Yep.
But I want Alfred to kind of die and have that being like a point where Damien's like, maybe it kicks into Damien like. That's where his arc goes. Like, Damien's this dick, but Alfred, he kind of has a soft spot for Alfred, so when Alfred dies, maybe it kicks in, like, that is his moment. That is his parents killed in an alley, or parents get killed in a freak, gangsters killing you in a fucking Haley's circus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that has to be his moment, you know?
I agree.
Because the thing about Damien is he's fucking royalty. Like, you have to add something in the movies to kind of make it so Damien has a motivation to fight crime.
I agree.
And not be a dick.
Yeah. I think you do have to. I think that's a good idea to have the motivation to do that. And so that's really important because then that would also... If you have the League here, you're painting the League is definitely very. In most Batman stories right now, even in Batman Begins, we've never really seen the League like unleashed or used to their potential. So like the fact that they could be cemented, maybe we don't even have any other villains. Maybe it is just as simple as the Bat family does have to deal with the sins of the father, and it is just.
Right.
And I kind of like that. I kind of like that it could go back to the League and just because then you're getting yourself a classic Batman ninja battle type deal where you have these ninjas, they're a problem, and then Damien has to deal with the people that are meant to be.
Speaking of ninjas, have you seen Batman Ninja yet?
Yeah, I love Batman Ninja.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's
I
great.
got the steelbook though.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
I was gonna ask if you wanted to watch it after this.
Oh yeah, we can. We totally can watch Batman Ninja. I'm always down.
We can throw something down. I got all the DC. I literally have every DC animated movie on Blu-ray.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or DVD.
That's great to throw something.
But I was wondering, we've almost hit the hour, the power hour.
Yeah, definitely.
I was wondering if you wanted to try a shot of this Evan Williams Kentucky bourbon.
I'll check it out, I guess. Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah, let's see what this is.
But
Kentucky bourbon? Whiskey, huh?
You're not a big whiskey guy?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good. It's all good. But yeah, that's good stuff. I'm sure for you.
I love whiskey. I'm a big whiskey guy.
That's cool. Yeah, so we hit the hour, so that's good. All right. So.
We hit the power hour.
Yeah.
So I think, what else is there to talk about, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, so I guess we should go through this since it is related and we kind of...
We don't actually have to make it just 1 hour.
Right, we can make it 1
hour. Is just...
Yeah, we have a couple other topics I think we can hit on.
It's just the thing.
All right,
so maybe we'll transition out of it. Do you have any final thoughts on Brave and the Bold? I don't want to cut you off completely.
Oh, I'm just really excited for the. I think that our predictions are very solid. I'm really excited for what this movie will be and where it will kind of go. And I think James Gunn's I think for me, I'm excited for a lot of the movies in this new universe. I'm excited for the universe as a whole, but I'm really excited for Brave and the Bold as a Batman fan. Having this kind of Batman and Robin movie, even this Bat Family movie, really piqued my interest. So I'm very excited.
Joe, one more thing. Oh, just you can keep going.
Okay. No, I was done with that last thought though. What was the other thing you had? Let's go.
I'm hiring this dude Maniac to make us a logo for the Power Hour.
Yeah.
This dude Maniac lives in the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
Grant the Hierophant, who I work with a lot on the channel.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot of artwork done by them. Mm-hmm. And have you my channel art with me and Aiden and Curtis?
Yeah.
He did that. So,
that's cool.
So I'm gonna get him to do a logo for it.
That'd be so cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
We'll get some images. It'll make our thumbnails a little tighter.
But I think that'll be cool. Yeah.
My final thoughts on Brave and the Bold is I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't mind having two Batmans floating around at once.
I don't either. Yeah, because then it's different because they're gonna be so different, and it's gonna be interesting because you have one Batman that's just starting to find his path as a hero, and you have one who's been a hero for a long time.
Exactly.
And I think that is going to be interesting to see.
And I think also Batman is a character who fights. He'll fight Joe Chill on the street, and then he'll fight Darkseid in space. He's such a varied character that I think it's smart you don't move Matt Reeves' Batman into more of that level where he's fighting people in space and shit. But you got this Batman who can do the crazy shit Batman does.
Exactly.
And you got Matt Reeves' Batman, which is more of our crime procedural thrillers.
Exactly. And that's kind of what they're going to do. I think that's kind of the plan for this trilogy is to just do more of that. Where I think this is going to be eventually we'll do Justice League and whatever it is, and it's going to be just Batman. Maybe he's in Gotham, maybe he's not in Gotham. Wherever he is, it's because he's going to be taking down people that are just even above his level. He just gets to take down some of the craziest threats that people don't expect.
Joe, I'm going to ambush you with a topic now that you probably didn't expect. So
all right. Let's
get ready.
Yeah.
Dream Justice League.
Ooh.
You can cast... Okay, the original Justice League was 7 people, so I'm going to give you 7 people to be in your Justice League movie. You can do less...
I can
but
do
no more.
I think I can do 7. I think 7 makes sense. So
you can do less. You can't do more.
So are we taking
your 7?
So we're taking Superman and Batman off the table already because they're already going to be assumed on the team, right? So we already assume.
I mean, you can do whoever you want. If you don't want Batman and Superman, this is your Justice League.
Oh, I would totally.
If you were to make a Justice League,
I wouldn't have a Justice League without Batman and Superman.
No,
so
you wouldn't. But I mean,
Yeah.
Hypothetically, I'd let you pick any 7 DC superheroes.
Yeah, hypothetically, then I'm definitely putting Batman and Superman on there because they're my pillars. I always got to have Batman and Superman. And then you got to have Wonder Woman because I think those are the main pillars.
The Trinity.
Yep, you have the Trinity no matter what. I
agree.
I think you have to have the glue that holds it together. Everything else it varies. And my Justice League might be different because I don't think that I would have Flash on my Justice League. That's one thing that would be different that I think.
All right. Who do you got?
So I got so I'm gonna.
You got 3.
Yep,
so you got 4 more choices.
Yep.
Who are
so
the
I'm gonna have a Green Lantern. It's probably gonna be. I want Jon Stewart because I always like Jon Stewart. Yep.
Okay.
So you got that, and then I'm gonna go Green Arrow. Gotta have Green Arrow. Yep. And then let's see. Let's see. Who else do we want? Since I don't want to do Flash, I'm gonna add because he's been a leaguer before. I want Black Lightning. I think we need another superpower but martial arts character on the team.
Black Lightning's been in the league plenty of times.
Yep.
And I think he was in Unlimited too.
Yeah,
But he's not he's not your standard choice. That's a good choice.
Yeah,
okay. Who's your last member? You got one more member.
Last member. Let's see. Who am I going? I got to think someone. I'm gonna do someone that's not that known. I'm just trying to think of. What is it? There's a character I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, and I can't think Justice League member. Someone that has not been. I'm trying to think of someone that hasn't really been done either as a Justice League member or just they don't get the exposure as often
Right.
that I want to see. Because I want something really different. Oh, I'm trying to think. What is it? Why can I never remember their name? I'm trying to think. There's one character I'm thinking of, and I just can't ever remember. I guess I'll go. You know what? I'm gonna go. Oh, why can I never? I hate that I never remember the character's name. So we got, I think, everyone on the team. Let's see. I'm gonna go. You know what? To play it safe, I think I'm gonna go Aquaman because I like Aquaman to be on the team. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that team. I think that'd be a good team.
You know, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna give you two options.
Okay.
Because my first option is no fun.
Yeah.
What I love the core Silver Age cast that like they put together in the 60s. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter.
Yep.
I'd be totally fine with.
Yeah.
If I had my own choice though, like if I was gonna kind of do my own my own Justice League, I would do Batman, Superman, because you can't not have them.
Yep.
Black Canary.
Ooh, that's what I was missing. I was gonna add Black Canary. That's true. Yeah.
Adam, Hawkman, or Hawkgirl. Either way, really.
Mm-hmm.
Red Tornado.
That's a good choice. Yeah.
And I would round out my league with Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern.
It's good to have a lantern.
You gotta have a Green Lantern.
Yeah, the only thing is...
For transportation reasons, Green Lantern's just practical. Because like Black Canary and Batman and shit, they can hop in the Batwing, but they're not keeping up with Superman.
It's interesting how both
Green Lantern can just go, beep.
It's interesting how both of us have both just like, we don't need Flash as a Justice League member. It's interesting that people have come to that realization.
My dream Justice League is the Silver Age lineup because it's just the classic Justice League. Those 7 characters are in some form represented on most Justice Leagues.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I'm being real with you, in my dream Justice League, I would cut Batman, Superman, and do like a 90s Justice League. I think I'd add Blue Beetle, Ted Kord edition.
That's a good
The Ted Kord Blue Beetle, and probably Booster Gold.
That's an interesting one.
If I was to do like a wholly, almost completely unique Justice League, that's what I would do.
That's interesting.
But if I'm going with my dream Justice League, it's boring. It's just the standard 7. But if I was going to go like the 90s, because the 90s they tried to do a bunch of weird Justice League combinations.
Yeah, definitely.
If I was going with my dream Justice League, it'd be one of those two. Like my weird Justice League, like 90s style Justice League, or standard Justice League. Like the iconic Justice League is the original 7. But those are the 7 I would pick if I had to do my own. And I probably, if I could do an 8th, I would do Starman. I don't know if he was ever on the Justice League.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different versions of Starman. I'm talking about the David version from the 90s. Nobody liked him. But here's my introduction to David's Starman. You know?
Yeah.
This is a weird story. I was at a flea market with my grandma, and for $10, she bought me 160 comics from this lady.
Yeah.
And it was a complete original run of Starman, a complete original run of this comic called Legion, which was like an edgy spin-off to Legion of Superheroes that wasn't that good. And there were a few like Batman comics mixed in there.
Yeah.
But it was all DC, and it was weird, obscure shit.
That's crazy.
And I loved this Starman character. He was kind of like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, yeah.
He had like the powers of Captain Marvel where he could shoot lasers.
Right.
He was sort of like DC, or he was sort of like another Superman, but he had like more like different powers, and like it was awesome. So I'd love him on the Justice League as my Superman counterpart.
It's a good idea. I actually think, going back to my 7 leagues, I'm actually thinking I'm gonna change some members that I just came up with. So I'm gonna take Wonder Woman off my team, and I'm gonna swap her for Black Canary because I just thought about it. I gotta have Green Arrow and Canary on the same team. So to me, it just sounds smart, and that's why this last member, I'm gonna take Aquaman off my team, and I'm gonna swap him for Wildcat.
Ooh, but Wildcat's such a Justice Society character.
Yeah,
like I would love in the Justice League movie they're like, we need more help or something.
Yeah.
Like, we can't take Darkseid alone or whatever they're
Right.
fighting. And then all of a sudden, like, these old geezers run up. It's like Wildcat, Alan Scott, Green Lantern, Jay Garrick, Flash, and they're like, what the fuck are these guys going to do? And then they just kick ass, you know?
That'd be great. It'd be like Expendables, but in a superhero.
Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I would actually kind of love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Where it's like just these old superheroes and people are like, fuck me. And then, Mr. Terrific and Stargirl are kind of the two exceptions.
I just want to see a threat that like is like with me, with me when it comes to these superhero teams, like the powered characters are interesting, but I love the characters. I love
Wildcat.
Yeah, Wildcat's great. Yeah.
He's awesome, dude.
I mean, the fact that there hasn't been enough exposure for him is sad because he's such a cool character.
Oh man, I could do an 100-member Justice League and still have characters where I'd be like, but it'd also be cool if this guy showed up.
Yeah.
Plastic Man. I love Plastic Man and Elongated Man. I mean, obviously you don't have both on a team since they have the same powers. Plastic Man and Elongated Man are both very similar characters. Yep. I'd probably go Elongated Man just because his relationship with Flash is closer.
Yeah.
And his relationship with Sue Dibney is great. Have you ever read, like, Identity Crisis before?
Yep. I read all the Flash stuff.
Read Identity Crisis, everyone. That's my recommendation. I think it's, like, the 4th time on my channel I've recommended it.
You love that comic so much you recommend it?
I read it on the last day of 6th grade. I graduated 6th grade. They were going to send me off to middle school. And I remember I read Identity Crisis in trade paperback. It was brand new at the time. I picked it up and I was like, Jesus Christ, that shit blew my mind.
It is good, mind-blowing stuff. I'm trying to think, I usually have a pretty good comic recommendation. I'm trying to think for my collection if there's any. Well, I'll tell you this. If you haven't read any of like the Nightwing New 52 with the Court of Owls, you got to read that.
I love the Nightwing New 52. That was by, what's his name? A great writer and artist. I can't remember. Comic Tropes. Have you seen his channel before?
Yeah.
He did an interview with the guy. It's Kevin something, I think.
That's true.
You want to know what my grail is for comic books that I own?
What's your grail?
I own Superman number 9 from 1940.
That's awesome.
Less than 10 issues into the Superman run. It's beat to shit, but it's worth a lot of fucking money, man. And I paid a lot of money.
My grail that is really huge is, and I still don't think I've even opened it.
I'm probably going to sell it to buy a PS5.
Oh, really? You got to get PS5. Yeah, PS5's the word.
But at the same time, that's a comic book where if I sold it, there's probably 1,000 copies in the world.
Yep.
And it's before number 10 for Superman.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I had 1941.
I have one of my biggest grails is I got it in one of those big booklets where it's got multiple stories. But I came across it's the Green Arrow and Hal Jordan saga, and it's great.
Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams.
Yep.
I met Neil Adams before he passed away.
That's too bad he passed away.
And I got it signed. I got 4 prints signed by him. And I talked with him for almost an hour. He was such a nice... a lot of people said he was a douchebag, but to me he was nice. But I was a little kid, and I was just fanboying out when I met him, because Green Lantern, Green Arrow, I never owned any of the comics until later in life. But I was a big fan of that run as a kid because I used to rent it from the library.
Yeah.
And I was such a big Green Arrow fan. My first comic book ever was a 500-page graphic novel called Showcase Green Arrow, which was all these Silver Age Green Arrow comics. Yep. Great. I don't know if you have that, but if you don't own that, I'll order it for you.
Oh, that would be so cool. I don't think I have that one.
It's the old school Green Arrow, so it's pre-goatee.
Yeah,
it's
that's
fresh-faced, and he's it's 50s and 60s comics, so they're relatively corny, but it's just it's fun. It's him and Speedy just hitting the fucking rails.
See, everyone has that that DC character that they just they think is the coolest and they gravitate towards. I remember when I was a kid, I used to really, and I still like Batman a lot as a character, and I used to still really, really love him, but I think it was when they did Justice League Unlimited. Something about Green Arrow, just hitting bad guys with the boxing glove arrow, and something about having Robin Hood on something like the Justice League. Right. With Hawkeye, it's just it's another Archer from Marvel. They don't treat him like he's a valued member. But there's times in the comics where Batman and Green Arrow are like, who's better? Like you take off your belt. I'll put my quiver down. What's gonna happen? And it goes pretty crazy with those two. Like
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's so good.
Green Arrow is a great character.
He is. I just really hope. Like I know James Gunn's a fan of him. I really hope that they do Green Arrow because I think we need more live action Green Arrow. I think he's just such a good character. And the animated movies use him and they get some cool stuff, but like live action, he didn't really pop in live action until Stephen Amell played him. I'm even like at this point, if they're gonna do like 40-year-old like people, I'm even like they couldn't do Grant for Flash, but if they could do Stephen and give him the right to get a rated R Green Arrow movie because that's what he wants to do, or a Green Arrow TV show, let Stephen play Green Arrow for a couple years at least again on the movies. It will sell. Like, the dude is like... I met him probably about 3 years ago, and he is just so cool. And I met some decent people that are really, really cool. I met one of the really good... I think I still have the print. I have a print of an original sketch for Supergirl when she was first created. And I met one of the newer artists that reprinted it, and it's really cool. And so I got that. At the Comic-Con, I met her. I met him, and then there was his like co-artist. And then I also met, that was when I met Steven, which was so cool. And then I've met some cool people. The coolest thing I've ever met, I'd probably say just on a level of anything as cool as DC is, meeting Ray Park and Sam Witwer is definitely my claim to fame just because being at a Star Wars convention like...
Yeah, dude. Check this out,
That's so rad.
It's like the old school Green Arrow, bro.
I have a figure of that Green Arrow, which is really cool, that I have for a collector. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, man. I love it, too, because he uses all the trick arrows at that time. He's like,
that's
bro,
the thing
I'm using
I never
the
understood.
bomb arrow, I'm using the cement arrow.
That's the thing I never understood. But with Green Arrow, they cement, like, why that each of his trick arrows do anything. With Hawkeye, it's like, oh, well, I got a grappling arrow and I can do explosions and that's about it. It's like, what? Why don't you cement the fact that he's got all these...
Hawkeye was never as cool as Green Arrow. That's a fact.
That's truly full. And certain people have been here.
I'm not talking about movies. Let's move movies aside. But if we're talking from a comic book perspective, I have always loved DC more than Marvel.
I agree.
Sue me for it.
No, I agree. I'm the same way. Like
the only character at Marvel that touches half the shit DC has is Spider-Man.
Yep.
And everything else is like, meh. From a comic book perspective.
From a comic book perspective, the only other character besides Spider-Man that I would say even gets close to DC for me, there's only one character, and they're already pretty much going to screw him over in their cinematic universe, so I don't know how much hope there is for it. But to me, I've read a lot of the really good Daredevil comics, and Daredevil was the only character that Marvel has that is like...
I love Marvel too, but when I was a kid, I have long boxes of comics at my dad's house. I used to have like 20, but I've sold a lot of my comics. I had about 20 long boxes. 15 of them were DC, 2 were independent comics, and 3 were Marvel.
Yeah, see, when I started reading comics, Marvel characters were becoming popular, but they weren't mainstream. So I read Spider-Man, I read Captain America, I read Iron Man. I was into that, but like, I started my entire comic book career with it was Batman and Superman first, and then everything else kind of followed, which was great when like a lot of the animated stuff came out. But something about like Batman as a kid just like really, really worked to me and really just gravitated towards and everything. And it's actually a lot. It's probably even a bigger reason for where my martial arts training like really kicked off too. Because when I was a kid, I was totally into like I was always watching Bruce Lee. I was always watching any of that stuff, like even at a kid age. And so I would watch Power Rangers. I started doing the moves and going crazy, just like so. Batman just gravitated towards me, and like Marvel doesn't have a character like that. While there are characters in Marvel that have martial arts, Marvel doesn't have a Batman. They don't have anyone that's even close to Batman. Moon Knight would have been someone close, but like they haven't really.
I love Moon Knight too.
Yeah, Moon Knight's
my
cool.
childhood YouTube channel I started in 2008 was Moon Knight movies, and I made 300 videos.
That's awesome.
And then I eventually graduated to NTMA. But in one video, I actually I review my first video that I made as a kid, and it's hilarious because it's a parody of Batman Brave and the Bold, where I replaced Green Arrow and Batman with Moon Knight and Hawkeye.
Wow.
It's a terrible video. Me and Aiden animated it in MS Paint. but it's great. And then it was Iron Man and Moon Knight, and then Green Arrow, and then Hawkeye and Batman as the prelude, because you know how all of them start. Yeah, so we remade the episode with Marvel characters. It was so much fun. We did it in like 2008 or 9.
That's crazy.
It was years.
That's crazy that you did that. That's kind of nuts. That works out though. That's
so.
Good.
I don't think we have a ton of time to talk about the new Wolverine suit, but let's just talk about it. Well, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm about to piss myself.
Yeah, we'll talk about it quickly.
I think we talk about it real quick. And then I think we sign off. I think
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Idea. So, what do you think of Wolverine's new suit?
I think Wolverine's suit is awesome. I think
I saw your video. You were going crazy.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I love it. I'm so happy that they're finally doing that suit. I knew we'd get there's so many variations of the different Wolverine costumes, but I didn't think
hyperventilating.
Yeah, because I just didn't think we would get that. I didn't think we would get the blue and that would
we finally got it, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Fox teased it so much it never happened.
Yep.
And there it is in those press photos.
I know, it made me so mad because I think I have the director's cut of the Wolverine, and I always watch the scene.
The Wolverine is underrated.
Yeah, I agree.
The ending's a little wacky, but I love samurai films.
Dude, that movie.
So I love that movie.
Dude, I love that movie too. I don't care what anybody else says. Like, you have one scene where the entire group of ninjas is trying to hold down Wolverine, and then the movie ends between a sword fight with Silver Samurai, and Wolverine has to take the samurai sword and because his claws get cut off. And it's so badass.
It's badass.
I saw the movie in theaters, and I saw so many people like, oh, this movie's a 7 out of 10 or like a 5. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Right. It's a freaking samurai movie with Wolverine. What?
All right. Well, here's what I think, Joe.
Yeah.
I think we do this podcast every week.
Yeah, I agree.
Or every other week, or whatever works best.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know my work schedule yet, but we'll get it done every once in a while.
I agree.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then here's what we'll do. I think we come together for the drunk views of James Gunn's DC movies, starting with Blue Beetle.
That's true. Yeah, I think
we drunk view Creature Commandos. We drunk view all that shit.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think that would be
because I got HBO, so I think we go through and we see if these DC predictions were holding up so high.
Yeah.
Let's see if James Gunn can deliver.
I agree.
Because James Gunn's promising a lot, but we don't got anything on the table yet.
Right.
I have a lot of faith in James Gunn based on what he's done. But let's see if James Gunn delivers. I think we need to talk further about this. I think
agree.
There's a lot more to discuss.
I definitely think. And I think we need to not only talk further about this, but also as the podcast grows, as we get more information about things, we need to, this episode was specifically Brave and the Bold, but there's so many of the other movies that are coming that we need to talk about what to expect and everything else. We've talked briefly about Superman Legacy, but there's a lot happening with Superman Legacy that need to be discussed. I know tonight I'm going to probably go home and make a big video about how we're getting pretty much Justice League members that I didn't think we would be getting. Even if they're only in there for a cameo, it's they got they cast Mr. Terrific, they cast Hawkgirl, and Nathan Fillion's gonna be Guy Gardner.
The only one I really know is Nathan Fillion, directly.
But it's still great seeing Guy Gardner.
Out of everyone, I'm talking about Superman and Lois too. I'll be honest, I don't know who those two are.
Right.
But physically, they all are damn, that person looks like the fucking character.
Yep, they all look like.
Or at least they look like a great choice.
Well, that just proves that James Gunn knows how to do casting, and he just knows.
He's not doing anything crazy. He's keeping it to the source material, but he's trying to find new talent. I like that he's striking the balance between, damn, that looks just like them, and I think this is a great casting from what I can see. Yeah. And I have no idea who the fuck this is. Right. Because that's what early Marvel did, and that's what works. I complained to you at work one time about how I thought Margot Robbie is Sue Storm. I love Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
I do not want to see Sue Storm be somebody that well known.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my opinion. But Marvel does what Marvel does. So
and I'm sure Marvel's just going to continue to do what they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, you got any messages before we sign off?
I don't think so.
This is going to drop on both of our channels. It might continue to do that. It might end up on one of our channels.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't see why not drop it on both. Try to get the most views.
I agree. Definitely. Double the better.
Double the better, man.
Yep.
We both got our own unique fan bases, so
Absolutely.
why not spread the love as much as we can?
Definitely.
But I'm gonna work on editing this. This is the first episode of the Joe and Connor Power Hour. And next time, we'll come up with something to talk about, and we'll see you guys then.
Yes,
Joe,
sir.
you got anything else to say before we sign off?
I think we're good. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.